Hello, Thomas. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you here in Barcelona with the Dance Shake Swing event. And how you doing? How's everything? How was your trip?
Good. Happy to be in Barcelona as usual. I love Barcelona, and trip was easy. Had some tapas early on. Yeah, well oiled.
So, where have you been? What have you been doing lately in the last month, the last year?
Last month or last year?
The last year, let's say.
Last year, okay. Last year, let me think. I had a studio at the Berghain for like the last 17 years, and I had to move out I'm sharing it with a few friends, Ricardo and Zip and Fumia Tanaka. And we had to move out last August, and I had to find another studio. I found another studio, but it's not finished. So I'm kind of in limbo, meaning I'm not doing much. I'm waiting for my studio and doing gigs and I don't know, staying in bed and scratching my balls.
We hope you find the studio room soon. Tell us a little bit more about your latest work, your album. It seems to us, and we find it very soulful and hopeful, your last album on Perlon, and for us that makes it outstanding inside the genre. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's the first album in many years. I kind of gave up on the idea of doing albums because I kind of wanted to do more 12 inches for like the clubs and stuff like that, and not put so much into one piece of work, because I think the whole kind of this genre of music I think works kind of better in the club, and doing like an album would mean as well to like have kind of more homey vibes as well and ambient stuff, and I wasn't kind of sort of much in the mood. But then Zip asked me to do an album, and I kind of started in like 2020 or something like that. Finished it I think 2020 as well, but then of course the pandemic came, blah blah blah, the word I don't want to use, then it came, it was finished, but then everything was delayed as well, of course. I've kind of tried to make it more for the home listening as well, like include pieces of music that are not solely for the club. The soulful thing, of course, I like, I like soul music as well. I like ambient music, and emotional music, of course, that's always been, but like on this one I kind of went a little bit more that kind of direction of not I don't want to say pop, but a kind of a little bit more, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's what you say. It's a soulful bit, the like a bit of a pop element. Whatever that means, But in my fantasy, it's more pop music. Of course, to other people it isn't, But so I use more vocal kind of, I don't know. More soulful vocal. Although I do that always, Of course, I don't know how well it went down. It was like a time as well where this kind of sound, especially post-pandemic, is less minimal now, and more banging. I think more techno came, and electro became more a thing. And of course, it was delayed, the album, and of course with the pandemic as well, it wasn't supposed to be hitting. It came when did it come out? In 2022, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when like post-pandemic, and it kind of meant it kind of came out a bit at the wrong time, I think. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we find it like there are some very good clubby tracks, but there is also something different, more easy listening, more soulful, more more something else to hear it. So yeah.
Compared to the last album, which was like 2007 or something, it's definitely more open to different kind of genres, you know. Maybe more a little bit more two-step, like one track, you know, the one more ambient, more deep house. Like, I mean, it's kind of more variety, I think, of stuff.
So at DSS, we find your music to be very spiritual and with even a religious attitude. And I think, and we think this is very positive, and we have to ask, are you religious or do you have a belief in something?
Yeah, I'm kind of religious. I wouldn't say per se like religious that I belong to kind of a church or something. I mean, I'd say broadly I'm kind of Christian, broadly speaking, maybe like agnostic Christian or something, not like tied down to like a doctrine or like something like Catholic or Protestant, although like I'm kind of, I guess, more Protestant from confession. My confession is more Protestant, I guess, Nordic, compared to like Spain, which is like more Catholic, I suppose. Yeah, so religious, I would say, yeah, Christian, you know. I like religion, you know, in a way I accept it as well, all kinds of religion. But it's kind of more spiritual, I suppose. That's more I grew up like that as well, with a more open approach to it. I went to a certain kind of school, I don't know if people are familiar with it, it's like a Austrian-German philosopher called Rudolf Steiner. Although I wasn't, let's say, following him as a young person, I heard a lot about his stuff and his philosophy and kind of like more like also Eastern orientated kind of philosophies with Hinduism maybe mixed with, I don't know, Christian, kind of like a mix of things, I suppose. So yeah, that's a big influence. And also I'm like an astrologer as well, you know. I studied astrology from an early age, and it's kind of all mixed in together with like Christian, Hindu, astrology, UFOs even, you know.
Yeah,
Anything that's kind of fantasy and half fantasy, half reality, you know.
we have to ask because we have seen before that you have said that your king is light. What do you have to say to that?
Well, the name I took from my last name is Melchior, and it's kind of in Hebrew it means my king is light, and I was kind of looking for, I don't know, like an alternative name. And of course I wouldn't have used that name, let's say 20 years ago, or, you know. I kind of didn't mean it to be like a heavy statement or it was kind of more light-hearted, you know, in a way. And but as the time went on, I kind of developed the approach to it because it's kind of positive, and if people don't know that, that's what Melchior means as well, which I kind of liked as well. Yeah, I kind of developed like something out of it that's kind of also a bit more less dark, you know, and less like an approach in which used to be more present, like I say, in house or techno music, you know, more like I don't know, like a esoteric, loosely esoteric vibe. And I try to sort of introduce it a little bit, of course, without coming across like a hippie, you know, or something like that.
We have felt that in your music, definitely.
Yeah, I mean the hippie vibe, I mean I like hippies, you know, but I don't like to be a hippie, you know, and I mean I like a lot of the ideals of hippie culture, you know. I kind of course I like it, you know, but I don't want to be like a hippie type of person. I kind of like to be serious and kind of more philosophical as well, and less kind of, I don't know, like dope smoking hippie, you know.
So, asking that last question, how do you define your music?
good.
Good, good answer. Beside electronic music, is there any other musical genre or artist that has had a notable influence on your work?
It's too many to mention, you know. Of course, I grew up more classical musically, like classical music, you know, like old classical. And then, sort of somewhere in my teenage years, I discovered, like, let's say, the Beatles when I was like 12, because it was like a kind of strict classical training, you know, where pop music was frowned upon and being belittled as well, you know. Of course, when I was like, my rebellion consisted of being listening to modern music, and like even like something like the Beatles, where it was like outrageous, you know. It sounds funny, but I like the Beatles, you know, as like classical music, the Beatles, and then from there straight into kind of more electronic music, like Kraftwerk, of course, you know, which has some kind of classical connotations, you know, and from there into like something like more Dadaist kind of music, where it was purposely made ugly as well. That kind of like that as well, like an avant-garde kind of vibe where you go against the harmony. That influenced me, of course, a lot. Not so much rock music, kind of more black music, I suppose. Herbie Hancock, jazz, you know, Herbie Hancock was like particularly, I loved a lot. That's from the, older music. Yeah, and that's kind of, from there on, yeah, we get some, of course, people like from Detroit, you know, Derek May and Juan Atkins, you know, even Carl Craig or something like, you know, some techno maybe. I mean, like, I basically just like good taste, you know. That's my main influence, you know. I don't care what it is, like dub, you know, as long as it's good, you know, and has something about it that's not done cheaply and quickly with just the purpose of earning money, you know, like artistic kind of.
Perfect. As an artist with a long history, how do you find the balance between maintaining your unique musical identity and adapting to changing trends in the industry?
Wow. I mean, I've been doing it a long time, you know. You could ask this question every 3 years, I suppose, every 5 years, I don't know. I don't give a shit about that, really. I think if it's good, like again, you know, the word's good. If it's good, I think it's timeless, you know, and you can, of course, I know it really well, the music as well. I know what the effect of a certain style or production technique is, you know, like you make the kick heavier, you know, or you make the mid-range more prominent or more bass more prominent, la-di-da, you know, so I kind of just make the music that I like, you know, and I don't care if it's like in or out, you know. Of course, financially speaking, it's nice when it's doing well, and there's times when it doesn't do so well. But generally, I just believe in the longevity of things, you know, and if it's good music and production technique as well, I don't go for obvious kind of production style. I try to make it sort of like, you can like listen to it at home and in the club, and it's not, that's another thing about it as well, like I don't like when the music's based on the kick drum so much, because it's kind of easy to make music that's based on the kick, you know, it's like a whoops kind of bang sound, you know. That I think will never really, that doesn't interest me, you know. So I try to keep it harmonious and musical, at the same time individual, and hopefully like strange and beautiful, you know. So I think that will last forever, you know, I think.
Good, good. So, Thomas, how do you see the future of club and dance music in your spectra, and how do you find Thomas Melchior in that future, let's say in the next 10 years?
Well, Yeah, well, I mean, of course, again, it's kind of a bit like sort of answer before, you know. I mean, I've seen the cycles as well, and it's kind of like first it's more banging, you know, it's like techno. That's how it kind of started. It was with a bass drum, and like people going, "Oh wow, that bass drum," you know, and the acid sound as well, of course, you know. That will, I mean, these elements will always stay, of course, and but yeah, so in the beginning it's kind of more banging, and then after the banging, people get a bit bored of the banging, and then they look a bit deeper, you know. And then after they looked a bit deeper, they discover other stuff, and then they go deeper and deeper, you know, and then they discover, let's say, the more minimal sound, you know, which is like an after hours kind of vibe. That's where the pros kind of usually end up, you know. The pros end up with a minimal sound, going like an early morning kind of sound. And I think this is the future, you know. It's like the future is the past, so it just cycles, and it's a bit like fashion generally, you know. Like it just always comes back, and with age, of course, you know, you learn to trust it as well, and you see that it's actually not just words or, you know, floskels. It's actually true, you know. With age, you see it. So, how I see myself in the future, you know, well, it's kind of doing the same thing, and yeah, I guess you run out of energy maybe at one point, you know, and if I run out of energy, then I'll stop, you know.
Good, good. Thomas, thank you for everything. Thank you for your legacy, your contribution from DSS. We're very proud to have you tomorrow at the event, and we wish you the best always, and long live the loop.
Nice one. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me, guys, you know, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. And I'm glad that people like you exist, you know.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you.
Good, man. The right answer was